Hey everybody, I am on my way down coffee house. Had a pretty productive day today. Got a bunch of stuff done. Had to work with some friends on a project last week, and this week I'm sort of back to my own devices. The magnolia trees are blooming here in Nashville. It's quite lovely. We've had beautiful summer weather. Summer's finally here to stay, it seems. It hasn't gotten broiling hot yet, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. I wanted just to take a second to bring something up. This sort of occurred to me the other night. On Thursday night last week, I led a art gallery talk with an artist who used to live in Nashville. Now he lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and he has a new exhibition of large abstract paintings at a gallery, my gallery actually, in East Nashville, Red Arrow Gallery. Not the gallery I own, but the gallery that represents my photography. And I run most of their art talks. So we've done these under a couple of guises. We had a whole series called Art on Target at Red Arrow Gallery. And now it's called Confab. And so this was Confab 3, I think. I think it's the third discussion in this under this new moniker. But anyway, so when we got done with the talk, a lot of people commented on how it felt like, we were sort of had made a lot of progress from where we had started. There was a woman who used to work with the gallery who was there, and she hasn't been to a lot of the talks or a lot of the gallery events lately. Still a friend of the gallery, and we all love her. She's our neighbor and our friend. But she hadn't seen any of the recent art talks, so she was like, "Oh man, like this is like come a long way from like the first time I talked to Daniel. This is actually the fourth time that Daniel and I had sat down to talk about a show at the Red Arrow Gallery together. He's very prolific, right? So he's pretty much had a show every year. And now, even though he doesn't live in Nashville anymore, he's still showing at the gallery. So I just arrived at the coffee shop, so I'm going to go ahead and park and then talk to you guys for a little longer. So Daniel and I have talked. This is the fourth time we've done one of these talks, and it's yeah, I think that part of the comfort level, but that seemed to be the general consensus, was that this was the best talk that we'd ever done because it was the most casual. Now, here's the thing. I usually prepare a bit more. I usually have time to do more, but because Daniel's out of town, I saw his show. I had questions and opinions about what he had done, but we had no chance to talk before then. And I think in some ways, not preparing in the case of somebody you know really well is almost to your advantage. It's almost like if you prepare too much, now it's just going to get stiff, because you already know this person, you've watched their art evolve over time. There's probably nothing that I needed to know that we couldn't just talk about fresh. But that whole thing, the whole idea of like, it was really relaxed and easygoing, everybody was chill, and you just had a conversation like two people who know each other and who've talked about art before, and that people really seem to enjoy that aspect of it. And it just sort of reminded me of the importance of being calm in so many of the things that I'm doing and that that you guys are doing out there. I know some of you practice martial arts, some of you are creative artists, some of you are YouTubers and bloggers and all sorts of things. But regardless of what whether we're talking about a martial arts situation, or whether we're talking about a creative arts situation, or whether we're talking about public speaking, like we were doing there, or you might do at a job where you have to stand up and give a presentation or something. One of the key things is to be calm, and it's interesting because on Tuesday night and Thursday night are the schedule for the MMA classes that I go to. So those classes are primarily striking classes with a bit of like takedowns and wrestling mixed into it. More like clinching and stuff. If you're not into the fighting thing, this might not make sense, and it's probably not worth going into. But we'll go to class and work on techniques that have built on the previous. Or you can stick around and last Tuesday night I stuck around for sparring, fought 2 rounds against 2 different guys, and had in a way I had the best sparring experience I'd ever had. And part of it was because I did a better job of really in that scenario. There's 2 things you have to do. You have to stay calm, because when all of a sudden you're have somebody trying to hit you and you're trying to hit them back, it's natural to get tense. It's natural to get scared. It's natural to get, stressed out. It's natural to have an adrenaline situation that very quickly will fade off. And by the end of that first round, you're going to just be exhausted because your body's exerted all this energy just, getting ready to fight or flight. Because you have to teach yourself as a fighter to have a calmness that sort of heads that off at the pass. Before you can have this huge rush of adrenaline, you've got to find a way to stay calm. All right, and I went into that sparring session on Tuesday night, reminding myself, like, stay calm. Right before the bell rang, I remember I took a really deep breath, and I blew it out, and I told myself, I'm gonna stay calm. And the other thing about staying calm is the reason why you're not calm is partly because when it comes time to actually be sparring with somebody, in order to get close enough to hit somebody, you're also close enough for them to hit you, right? So this is why it's nerve-wracking and why you get stressed out and you start tensing up and not staying calm. But so you've got to develop a certain comfort level with the fact that it's like, I'm going to get popped every now and then, right? Especially if you're like me and you've got, compared to the normal person, I've got a lot more hours in on, actually working on combative skills, but compared to my fellow students and certainly my coaches, I'm toward the bottom of the barrel, especially because of the fact that even though I'm in pretty good shape, I'm like often like the older guy there. I'm 40, gonna be 48 soon, right? And I completely recommend, if you think you want to do something crazy like train martial arts at 48. It's not that. You can totally do it 100%. It's nothing to be worried about. Go to a good school, get some good training, get some good sparring partners and classmates and stuff, and you'll be fine. And you'll get in better shape. It's great for you. But that said, when I'm sparring against 25-year-olds, I have yet to meet the 25-year-old who didn't have, maybe that's not true, but there's lots of guys who have faster everything than I have. You know what I mean? I've been, striking with some younger guys who are just, wah, 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 and it's like, it's one of those things where by the end of the second round, I just start sort of falling apart a little bit. You know what I mean? Even though it might look good early on. But this night when we were doing the thing and I was at the sparring session and I was like doing my best to stay calm and to prioritize calmness, and to understand that I was getting into a situation where I needed to be okay with the fact that I was going to get hit more than I normally did, because I was going to hit more, but I wasn't going to try to be overactive. I was just trying to be calm, and a big part of being calm is not just like over exerting yourself, running out of danger, or committing to danger. You know what I mean? You've got to find a way to work that space better so you can stay calm and at the same time be ready, to avoid or to attack, and to be effective, at distance, right? And it's tricky, and it's tricky, and that means you're going to get whacked. So I did. I got whacked. I got probably hit more the other night than I've ever been hit. No big deal. I've got all this protective gear on. Nobody's trying to take your head off. It was fine. But nonetheless, I have to admit, I got tagged a bunch. And I also landed a sweet little spinning back kick to the body, and I also landed a spinning back fist on a guy who was sort of like giving me that target. You know what I mean? Kind of overcommitting as he came into me. And so I knew that I could catch him, and I pretty much just caught him coming out of a clinch. Basically, we were coming off the fence out of a clinch, and I just sort of rolled with it and threw the spinning back fist and whacked him really good. And that was calm. So all of a sudden, opportunities just kind of happened for me because I wasn't freaking out. You know what I mean? I wasn't tensed up and just, whatever. I don't know what you're doing when you're doing that. It's just sort of like static, man. But if you can get to the calmness, then you can get to like the sweet shit, man. Then all of a sudden things start to happen. And one of the things is you're getting punched, but again, if you're not close enough to get hit, you're not going to do much hitting yourself. So it's just all part of it. But I thought about that. I thought about, you know, the fact that the calmness that made the art talk a success was also the same calmness that gave me the best sparring session I've had yet, since I joined my gym, which has been, you know, it'll be 2 years this summer probably. And I haven't done a ton of sparring. Right? I mean, I've been mostly I've just been, you know, kind of going through martial arts style workouts that I just do on my own, you know, and then I go to classes. I'm trying to go to classes a little bit more regularly. I do some wrestling on Wednesdays when that class is a little bit on and off, but I'm almost every Wednesday I'm showing up with my rash guard hoping that we're going to wrestle. That's actually kind of my obsession right now, just because it's so hard, physically just draining. It's unreal how draining it is to wrestle. But I recommend it. But the calmness in the fighting and the calmness in the art talk, it also goes along with like when I do my musical performances. I just was in this studio on Saturday working on my album, which I hope we might finish it this summer, man. I really hope we do. We made a lot of progress on Saturday, but there's a lot to it. But that album, you know, will be, you know, that a lot of the songs from that I'm already playing out live at this point. And when I play live, it's 100% the same thing. To me, it's almost more just a physical thing when you play live. Like if you're performing in front of people, or if you're singing in the studio. I had to do this the other day because we just decided, we got some ideas and then thought, well, we could cut vocals right now if we want to. And my voice is just sort of my voice, you know what I mean? I have good days, I have bad days, but it doesn't seem to matter. Like you hope that it's a good day when you have to record, you know? And so I said, well, let's just try it. You know, if I can do this stuff, we'll do it. I had to sing this part that was sort of at the higher end of my range, where you're going up into like a falsetto voice. And on the recordings we had done up to that point, on the demos for the album and stuff, I'd kind of struggled with it. I had sort of had some trouble, and since then I've, you know, like when we've rehearsed it and stuff, it's been like, boy, that section's pretty weird. I don't know if I can sing that section, you know. But on Saturday, I just drilled it, and a big part of the reason was that before it began, I reminded myself, just like I had in the sparring session, I had reminded myself, I was like, okay, dude, you got to just chill out. And I sort of consciously like relaxed my face and relaxed my neck, you know, and relaxed my chest, right? And relaxed my, you know, like my solar plexus, my diaphragm. You know, you really need to be loose. And I find it to be, I don't like to sit when I sing. I'd rather stand up. That said, I think you should, it's almost like in fighting, I almost feel like when I bend my knees just a little bit and sort of settle in, I get more sort of torque on my hips and knees. It's almost like I can sing better. I think it might be just psychological, you know, like I feel ready to go, you know, when I sort of sink into. So I just sort of did this little relaxation exercise where you just sort of consciously feel this way, that relaxation going through your body. I'm just doing this while my engineer's getting his or whatever. This is, you know, 40 seconds just in the studio right before we're ready to sing. And it worked great. It really helped me. I think it helped. I don't think I might have been able to get those vocals anyway, but I think it me, and I think it helped me psychologically too, because a big part of singing well, you know, in terms of, you know, really nice intonation, there's a thing. I mean, like a lot of times singers will literally point at the note, like the imaginary note, like there's that note I'm trying to sing. That's the one I almost want to miss. You know what I mean? And you sort of point at it, and it gives you this weird focus in terms of intonation. That might sound weird. If you're a singer, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of us do it. But a lot of it, I mean, that's a little tool you can use, but you don't really need it. All you really do is really go and nail that fucking note. You know what I mean? In your attitude, in your countenance, in your mechanism, you know. And you know, it worked great. But a lot of that again is having that kind of clarity. I really think it comes to that calmness, right? So just to sum it all up, I guess all I'm really trying to talk about today is the idea that, you know, there's these things we want to accomplish, whether it's, you know, in a you know, combat, you know, competition, or whether it's in an art studio, or whether it's at your job, you know, there's these efforts that we're involved in, and these goals we're working toward, and all this stuff. And a big part of that, it becomes exertion, you know, and focus, and you know, tireless effort and all this kind of stuff. And all of that's super important. And I don't think you actually make that progress without those things, of course. And that said, there are moments within these journeys where the foundation of your practice needs to be calmness. You know what I mean? And a certain clarity and calmness so that you can so that you can actually be at your best. I think in our way, really kind of like old school Newtonian way that we look at the world, it feels like, well, if you want to be at your best, man, you had like this very alpha, sort of like solar Apollonian sort of active energy thing that's hugely important. It's absolutely what we're talking about. And that said, when it comes down to it, just that driven forward motion thing on its own is not anywhere near as effective as that driven forward motion tempered with calmness and mindfulness and economy of movement in the sense of a combat sport, or even in the sense of an art. If it's very easy, in a creative space to just keep piling stuff on, just keep painting layers, just keep adding sounds, and I think if you can have calmness, or again, like in a performance, I really think a lot of it is just, it's about that, and if you have that calmness and that serenity and that relaxation in your whole mechanism, your skull and your vocal cords and your chest and your breathing, if you got all that real chill and real supple, then what you can end up doing is you can sing really well, really loud, really accurately, but like if you want to sound like passionate and voluminous, you got to relax. That's where you're going to get fucking power in your voice. You're not going to get power in your voice getting tightened up. That's where you're going to start squeezing your voice, and you're going to have trouble with it, and you're going to hurt yourself. You got to open that up to get that big voice, you got to open it up and relax. And then all of a sudden, rather effortlessly, you can access this huge sound out of yourself. But it really has to start with chilling out, So this is just some recent thoughts I've been having.